Hello, and welcome to part 3 of Mr. Rigden's Python course. I am Mr. Rigden, aka Jason Rigden, and today, in this video, we're talking about error messages and problem solving. So, error messages, every programmer encounters errors. They're very, very common. Sometimes they can be as simple as like a typo, other times it can be the result of other people. So maybe you are collaborating with someone, or maybe it is a library. It could be all kinds of reasons. They happen all the time. They can be very frustrating, and they can make you feel bad. Don't be discouraged by error messages. Each one is an opportunity to learn more. I know it can be very frustrating, getting error message after error message, but it is normal and it's a good way to learn. And just don't get discouraged. So let's make an error on purpose just to see how we handle it. If you watched my last video, you saw this Hello World video. So we're just going to open up Nano, open up that Hello World program, and what we're actually going to do is we're going to lose that last quotation mark down there. So let's go over here. We're going to exit out of the interpreter, and then we're going to go back to that Hello World. Oops, I executed it. I didn't want to execute it. I want to open it up. Okay. So Nano, Hello World. Okay, so this is it. We're going to go all the very end. We're going to remove this apostrophe, close it out, and now let's run it. Okay, so now we have purposely made an error message. So it gives you some good information. Tells you, one, what file it was. So it's the Hello World. We knew that. Line 1, we also knew that, but it could be very helpful. You never know. Like, if you have thousands of lines of code in a file, it's really helpful to know what line broke. And it even shows you like a printout of the line that died, what caused the error. And then you get this here. This is actually the error message. So it's telling us there was a syntax error, EOL, which is end of line, while scanning string literal. So the very first thing, you're going to look at your error and see, does anything obviously seem wrong here? So this is a really easy one, right? You can do this just visually with your eye. You would see, oh, there should have been a quotation mark or an apostrophe at the very end there. I just kind of left that string just open, and what the interpreter is like, well, I don't know where that string ends. Do you want the entire rest of this to be a gigantic string? So it just kind of dies and tells you you've got a syntax error. So you can see how you can start, these error messages help you to start dissecting the problem. So I think we went through this. So yes, so it tells us that it was on line 1, tells us it was syntax error. So I'm gonna jump ahead. So wait, here we go. Answering questions. So sometimes our last example was an easy one. It gave us a good error message, and we could look and we could see it was pretty easy. Syntax errors are nice because a lot of times just visually you can see. A lot of times it has to do with pairings, right? Maybe you're missing a parentheses or a bracket, and that you can just see. But sometimes we can't figure out what caused the error on our own, and we need help fixing an error. So the next part is going to be about how to get help. And the way you're going to get help is by asking questions. And sometimes asking those questions isn't actually asking a person. Sometimes you should just Google it. As a matter of fact, that's what you should always do first. Google it. Just take that error message we got and just Google it. Just copy it. Like go back, say here. I would just copy. Well, I'd probably copy this line right here. I mean, don't copy this. This isn't going to be helpful because this is your code. But this error, just put that into Google and see what happens. That should be your exercise. Recreate this error, and then put this syntax error, syntax end of line, blah blah blah. Put that into Google and see what comes back. Like, it's a good test because you know what happened with this code, right? And what happened with this code is Jason was sloppy and he forgot an apostrophe, and now it won't execute. But pretend you didn't know that and see how much Google can help you. So let's go back. So Google, all right? I don't know. Google it. That should be your big mantra in your mind. Okay. Also, it's a good time to start learning Google Foo. So if you haven't heard, there's all kinds of different ways of searching for things like an exact phrase or asking for this string but not this. There's a lot. We're not going to cover it here in this video. There are lots of awesome videos on YouTube. There's a lot of cool tutorials online with how to improve your Google food. There are certain special things you can do when searching that will help you get better results. So do that. That's going to be your best thing, is getting good with Google. Like, the best thing you can do, the best thing you can learn about programming is how to help yourself. Because initially, you will be able to ask people for help. But eventually, you're going to get to a point where no one can really help you. You need to just figure it out yourself, and your Google food will serve you well. So, another thing, when you do actually ask people questions, make sure you are being kind, respectful, and concise. Remember, you're asking people to help you, so you want to be nice. And also, that's just kind of just being a nice person. So I have these asking questions, do's and don'ts. So do, Google it, right? First thing, Google it. Read the documentation. Oftentimes that documentation can be really complex and hard to get to, but take the time to at least dig in a little bit. Like, you don't need to read a project's documentation from start to beginning. You just need to know enough to know where to go to get your answers. All right. The other thing is to search Stack Overflow. So Stack Overflow, if you're not familiar, is a big website with all kinds of people just post questions and other people answer them. Search there. Most likely your question has been answered on Stack Overflow. Learn how to search Stack Overflow. Now, we're kind of more at the point of actually directly asking somebody about your specific problem. Make sure you include that entire error message. All right. The other thing, make sure you follow community rules. Every community, from Stack Exchange to a Slack group to even just a meetup, has different community rules. Like, it might be just certain things about just protocol. Like, maybe at like a physical meetup, they don't really want you to be trying to get people to debug your code. Just because maybe it's one of those events where people they want to socialize, have a few beers, and just talk about programming generally, not really do debugging. Yeah, and also some just chat channels will have special areas designated for people to talk about debugging or problems, and it's not really the appropriate place. So make sure you know the community rules before you barge in and say, help me, I need help, please help me. And most importantly, be thankful. Be nice to people. When they help you, say thank you. It's like Mr. Rogers. Please and thank you. It'll make everything more wonderful, and it'll make people like you. All right, now I got to go to the bad things. So the don'ts, the asking questions, don't just ask to ask. This happens a lot on videos. It happens a lot in conferences. I'm not sure what exactly it is. I have some theories, but oftentimes people just ask questions just to ask questions. And if you ever have someone ask you like this, you'll know, because it's when they ask you a question and they immediately drift off while you're giving the answer. So they don't really care. Like, when I ask a question to someone, I need to know that answer, right? Like, that's probably what you are too. But some people just ask to ask. Don't do that. It's kind of a waste of everyone's time. Don't paste a wall of code. We get this on YouTube comments and chats all the time where someone will take 100 lines of code and they will just copy and paste that entire thing and say it doesn't work. It's not very helpful. Like, it gets really frustrating because that's a lot. It's very frustrating. Just imagine if I gave it to you as say you're taking a Python class, and someone just gave you a printed out piece of paper and just said, debug this code. It's not gonna be fun. So don't post a wall of code. And we're going back because community rules are so important. Don't break community rules. And community rules can be things like, so earlier I said about kind of like just etiquette and stuff. This is kind of like etiquette, you should always assume that any community that you are interacting with as far as programming goes is of a professional nature. That means no sexual stuff, no vulgarity, no insulting. You should act like you would around your boss. Be nice and don't break the rules. You should know what the rules are and don't break them. Okay, another don't waste time. There's a lot of ways you can do this. You'll know. It's part about being concise. I'm going to make this concise by saying just don't waste time. All right. Don't be mean. There's a strange thing where people oftentimes, when they're asking questions right out of the gate, they are mean and angry about something. So you'll see this oftentimes if you are making like a library that's intended to help people, and then it doesn't work for someone, and that person has made that library for free just out of the goodness of their heart, and then somebody comes in and says, this doesn't work, you're stupid for doing this. Just super mean. Don't be mean. You won't get any help if you're mean. Okay, moving on. Another dote is be entitled. No one owes you an answer. The project maintainer, your teacher, well, maybe your teacher does. If you're paying your teacher, they kind of owe you something. But yeah, people just doing videos. If anybody gives you stuff for free, you're not entitled to their time or their questions. So that's part of kind of being thankful is don't monopolize their time. Like they don't owe you an answer. Like especially if you could just Google it. Oftentimes, I know I've ignored comments in the below just because it's like stuff you could Google. Like I feel like almost answering their questions might be hurting them more than not. Anyhow, moving on. That last don't part was a downer. Sorry. Okay, so now I have two special cases of special people that I encounter. Not special. Yeah, groups of people that I encounter that I want to address. So English as a second language people. So I mean, don't be afraid to ask. I know it's scary. I can only imagine. I'm an American from the USA, so I only speak English. I have no idea. That's crazy to me to think that you can speak multiple languages. So I'm totally amazed by you already. Just take the time to proofread your question. Don't be in too big of a hurry. Just know that it's something you might have to do is spend a little more time, but don't be afraid to ask. Totally ask those questions. Don't be afraid. I encourage you. I also want to say hello to India. Hello. 20% of my views come from India. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't capitalize India. Sorry. Nothing personal. Sorry. But yeah, just look at the dinosaur waving. Hello. Thank you. And women. Okay. So women, don't be afraid to ask. Once again, a lot of why I say don't be afraid to ask after all that, but the tech environment can be very hostile and mean and crappy. I'm sorry. All I can do, and I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just trying to encourage you is to be brave and be bold. And ask those questions. I have this little thing. I don't have hardly any women to watch my channel, but let this little video inspire you to be brave and be bold like this cat. I mean, maybe not as violent. I'm not sure why this cat had it in for this little kid, but yeah, be brave, be bold. Yes. Hopefully that wasn't sexist. Sorry. Okay, answering questions. As you learn, people will start to ask you for help. Answering questions is not an opportunity to show off. It's a chance to give back to the community. When you're answering questions, do it just like when you asked questions. Be kind, respectful, and concise. If people asking that way and answering that way, those are the best. Everyone's happy. So this was I think part three of my ongoing series of Mr. Rigden Teaches Python. Tell me what you think down below in the comments. If you like it, hit that like button. If you want to see more, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching.